This might be the perfect drone if you don't have any friends. Today's video, we're gonna be talking about the HOVERAir X1 Pro Max. Now, they did send me this drone, they sponsored this video, so the best I'm gonna give you is going to be a product showcase. I'm gonna go into some of the things I think is really cool about this drone, some of its use cases, how to use the app on your phone and on the controller, some of the tracking features that aren't on other drones, and whether or not this might be a good pickup if you're a loner. We'll get there. Okay, so what is the HOVERAir X1 Pro Max? Well, it is gonna be classified as what I guess you can call an adventure drone for two separate reasons. For one, it actually is under the threshold of 250 grams, which means that you don't necessarily need to register. There's a bit more flexibility in terms of where you can fly. And in the city of Toronto, there's like 3 or 4 locations, and I found one of them. But also, if I turn this guy on, I'm actually going to be able to have this self-fly, which means that without the use of a remote or have different modes that I can access directly on the drone. Now, getting the HOVERAir X1 to actually take off is incredibly easy because you don't need a phone and you don't need a remote controller. Now, I have this little drone in my hand here. I'm gonna just get this guy on, spread its little wings, and
mode, hover.
It's actually gonna tell you which mode it's in. And then all I have to do is just hold that down. Oh, what?
Hover.
Confirm the mode, hold it out. And that's pretty much all you have to do. Now, I will say in terms of the noise of this drone, it's not super loud, but it is a bit more high pitch, but you have a couple of different shooting modes. Right now it's on hover, so I can walk around in a circle and it'll track me all the way through. You need to give it a second so it can actually get used to your face and where you are, and then it can follow you around or do some of the other shooting modes. But I'll get into that in voiceover mode. Now, I am just gonna run through a bunch of the different modes that you can use in terms of some of the presets that you have on the HOVERAir X1 Pro Max. Now, you have anything from being able to spiral around, getting an orbit shot, getting a 360-degree view. You do wanna make sure that you have safe clearance in terms of your flight, just in case you might run into some issues. If you put a 30-meter zoom out, you might hit a tree. But what's really nice here is not only do you have a bunch of presets, but you also have a phone app where you can control everything as well. And then once you're done, you just hold your hand out, it lands, you put it back in your pocket, and then you go about your business. Now, up until this point, I've been shooting at 4K on all of these clips. And if it doesn't necessarily look to your liking, if it looks a bit soft or a bit mushy, it's a small sensor shooting in 4K. You could actually change some of those flight modes in your presets. Now, I have the phone app open here, and what I can do is I can go into the phone app, and then I could also change the resolution that I want. I could shoot in 4K, 1080p, or 8K. I could shoot vertical if I want to. I could change the zoom. I could also change the orientation of some of those preset shooting modes. So if I want to shoot close up in a follow, or I want to shoot high up in a follow, or flat when I'm tracking in cycling mode, I'm able to do that. And then simply I click apply to all modes. I go back out. And now every single preset that I have is gonna shoot in 8K normal, which is, in my opinion, I think the better picture profile here, which is kind of surprising because you can shoot in log. I'm also going to admit that I totally forgot to bring I also am going to admit I totally forgot to bring an SD card, which is really nice because the X1 Pro Max does have internal storage. So if you're someone who's grab and go, and maybe you might be, so if you're somebody that's grab and go, or maybe you formatted your card, so if you're someone that's grab and go, maybe you backed up your footage just the night before, you left without the card, which is something that I do pretty frequently, I love the fact that this drone does have internal memory, and then I could use it as a USB device, and that way I can just back up footage that I have on the drone. Okay, so we're back at the house. I'm going to talk about the entire kit with the HOVERAir X1 Pro Max, but I also want to talk about some of the image quality and the picture profiles, because right now you can get up to 4 picture profiles on the HOVERAir X1 Pro Max. I'm probably going to get that name wrong, but one thing I am going to note here is I actually do think the normal picture profile kind of looks the best in my opinion. It's the only one that can go up to 8K, which means you could take advantage of a better resolution. It doesn't have the most amount of dynamic range, and obviously when you're only shooting in a normal picture profile, it's going to be a Rec 709. But what I do like here is that you are still going to be shooting in 10-bit. Now, it is 420, and I don't really expect it to be 422 like a Sony camera or anything else like that. But the fact that you do have an 8K self-flying drone is kind of really nice. Now, I am going to talk about this entire kit because realistically, if you have like these two things, this is pretty much all you need to get started. It does have this plastic frame around the propellers, which means A, I probably don't have to change out the propellers, and B, if I do have a collision, this actually won't break down that easily. So this is super nice, and as well as you do have those sensors, one that's going to be on the bottom here in case you're landing, one that's going to be behind so when you are flying backwards, and then then obviously, well, there's a camera at the front, so I don't necessarily know if they need to have a sensor there. Now, going on to some of the other accessories, HOVERAir actually sent me the entire kit here as well, as they did send extra batteries. Now, because I crashed my drone, some of these batteries don't have the longest life, but it is nice, and I do recommend having at least 3 of these guys. You'll only get about 45 minutes, maybe an hour if you're lucky, but if it's windy outside, that battery life might be less. This is also going to come with ND filters as well. You are going to need those if you want to keep double that frame rate in order to make sure things look nice and cinematic. I will also say from 2 sides of my mouth, I didn't change my ND filters during this shoot and making this video, so there are going to be times where I don't have 1/50th shutter speed, and it's like 1/100 or maybe 1/200. But when you're flying a drone in the sky, you probably don't really know. I also want to point out here is that you do have this little beacon. Now, one of the shooting modes I hadn't mentioned was going to be the ski mode, because finally we don't have snow in Canada anymore. And also, I don't have a bicycle, so I handed this to my friend Rich. Yeah, so what happens is I give you the beacon, you put it on your bike, and this just flies. Like, I don't have to do anything. Cool. So I'm going to put this on your bike. You're going to ride. I'm just going to let it record, and it should follow you, because this is going to be like, it's its own home point. So let's run that. Let's just see here. Cycling mode. Yeah, that's what we're in.
Cycling mode.
I get it. We're in cycling mode. Well, I mean, like, it's kind of nice. It does tell you each mode as you go. Like, if I do this,
Dolly zoom.
it'll like call it out.
Door follow. 360 degrees spin. Spiral.
It's a little annoying when you're trying to be discreet, but also
Cycling mode.
as a beginner drone, it's not the worst in the world. So, all right, Rich, let's get you on this thing. Now, the beacon's going to be able to do 2 separate things. For one, it's going to act as a home point for your drone. So if you keep this beacon on you, you technically only need, well, these 2 things, but at the same time, you want a more precise and to be able to get a little bit of a longer range in terms of some of your follow modes, you can use one of this guy. It's also handy for that bicycle mode, which is why I'm showing you the bike clips from here. Now, on top of that too, you do have these little controls. So I can move this one into here, and then I could use this as a regular remote, similar to using a DJI drone. What's nice about this too is that you can't actually see what the camera sees on the screen, but I will say this is kind of flies into why I think this drone's better for more adventure and vlogging than I do think using it as a traditional drone. Now, on my phone and on the Sky as well, it doesn't have the farthest distance in the world. And if HOVERAir was to make another accessory, I would love to get a professional version of this remote. Using it as a traditional drone, getting shots as high as I can, I could maybe get 100, 120 meters in normal conditions, keeping in mind I live in a city, so there might be some interference, but I can't get that far away as opposed to some other drones that I've used that can get up to 1 kilometer, for example. Now, if I'm using this as a follow drone, an adventure drone, and having this track me while I'm on a bike, or I might actually try this in a car and see if it works, I could actually get a lot more out of the distance because the home point moves with you instead of you flying super far away from where the home point is, where you do lose connection. Right side, the drone's back. Dark side, now it's stuck in a tree. Now, on the bright side here, if you do lose connection, the drone will just fly back to you. It's really nice that it does have a return to home if anything goes wrong, but I do wish that there was more of a professional version of this that has a longer range. Now, the drone battery is dying a little bit, so I'm gonna do is go to return and return all the way to home. Once that is done, I'm going to talk about using this on your phone. Now, the drone battery life isn't the highest in the world, and that's one thing I'm going to address here. You're going to get about 14 to 16 minutes on this guy, but what's nice is not only can you return to home using your phone and use it as a controller, but if the battery is dying and you're in a dire emergency, the drone will actually return itself to home. Now, I'm going to say this. If you're looking for a final verdict and whether or not this drone is worth it, I think one thing is going to be very advantageous is to kind of go over your own use case. If you're someone that does a lot of cycling, a lot of adventuring, you're hiking a lot, you don't want to necessarily have a drone controller on you, but you do want to have a drone follow you for some of those shots, I think the HOVERAir X1 Pro Max is one of the only drones that can do that, especially without using any other devices. If you're looking for something to have a much larger sensor or getting more aerial footage like a much larger drone, I think the writing's on the wall there. You probably want to buy a bigger drone. One thing I also say here as well is I am going to put the prices on the screen here because I live in Canada, so it might be a different price, and some of you guys are from the US and some of you guys are from the UK, but I will put the price down to here. It is priced around that like $1,000 mark if you want to buy one of the combo kits, which puts it right in line with some of the other drones like the Mavic Mini 5 Pro. Now, in terms of where these two drones are very different is, well, they're kind of made for different things. I can't use another DJI drone in order to follow me around without using a phone. However, I will say on some of the more professional remote controls, you're gonna get a bit more range out of the DJI drone than you would on, say, the HOVERAir X1 Pro Max, which I think is fine. It depends on what you need out of your drone, which is gonna dictate your use case. For me personally, because I'm more of a homebody, I think this is gonna be really handy as an emergency drone, or if I need something to follow me or track a subject, because I do shoot a lot of sports, and now that it's warmer, I could shoot outside a bit more. But if you're someone who likes doing a lot more things outdoors and touch way more grass than I do, I think this is gonna be perfect for you, especially because you don't have to learn how to use a controller. That being said, a special shout out to HOVERAir for actually sponsoring this video, sending me this drone, and it's kind of nice. It's one of the few drones I've crashed and I've been able to get back alive, so there's that as well. But I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.